The massive alien warships hung like obsidian daggers against the pale blue backdrop of Earth's sky. Each vessel dwarfed entire continents, their crystalline hulls reflecting a cold, calculated malevolence that seemed to drain the very hope from humanity's collective spirit. The Nexus Collective had arrived, and they brought with them the weight of 300 conquered civilizations. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood in the underground command center beneath the United Global Research Facility in what was once Buenos Aires. Her fingers traced the holographic displays showing the invasion fleet's positioning, each movement a mathematical precision that spoke of centuries of evolutionary strategic planning. Around her, the world's best minds worked in a tense silence broken only by the soft hum of quantum computers and the occasional sharp intake of breath. "They're not even trying to communicate," whispered Dr. Marcus Chen, her chief technical advisor. His hand trembled slightly as he adjusted the global defense network maps. "It's like we're less than an afterthought to them." Elena understood why. The Nexus Collective viewed humanity as a primitive anomaly, a chaotic species that defied every known principle of advanced civilization. Their records showed human history as a constant stream of conflicts, environmental destruction, and seemingly senseless innovation. Where other species had achieved unified consciousness and perfect social structures, humans remained beautifully, terrifyingly unpredictable. Outside the facility, cities prepared for what seemed like an inevitable end. Emergency protocols activated worldwide, but there was no real hope of resistance. Satellite imagery showed alien landing craft preparing to deploy, their technology so advanced it seemed to bend the very fabric of reality. Quantum shields, adaptive weapon systems, and neural network controllers that could predict and neutralize any potential threat. The Nexus Collective was technological perfection incarnate. But Elena saw something different. Where others saw certain defeat, she saw potential. Her research over the past decade had revealed a fundamental truth about humanity that the Nexus Collective could never understand. Human beings were not defined by their technology or their current capabilities, but by their ability to adapt, to reimagine, to transform the impossible into the inevitable. She pulled up a series of seemingly random data streams, cultural exchange patterns, technological innovation rates, psychological resilience studies. To the untrained eye, it looked like chaos. But Elena saw a complex, living system more dynamic than any artificial intelligence could comprehend. "They're going to learn," she muttered, a slight smile breaking through her serious expression. "They're going to learn exactly what humanity means." As the first alien landing ships began to breach Earth's atmosphere, Dr. Rodriguez knew their real battle was just beginning. Humanity's greatest weapon was about to be unleashed, and the universe would never be the same. The research lab hummed with an electric tension as Dr. Elena Rodriguez assembled her most unconventional team. Global communication networks had been reduced to encrypted bursts, but brilliant minds from every corner of the planet had answered her call. They gathered around a holographic display that looked more like an abstract art installation than a strategic planning tool. Dr. Aisha Okeke, a quantum psychologist from Nigeria, carefully manipulated strings of data that danced like living organisms. "Traditional defense is suicide," she explained, her fingers weaving complex patterns that revealed hidden connections. "The Nexus Collective operates on predictive algorithms that require absolute logical consistency. We need to introduce something fundamentally unpredictable." Beside her, Professor Hiroshi Tanaka, a specialist in adaptive systems, nodded. His background in emergent artificial intelligence and cultural dynamics had prepared him for this moment. "Humanity's greatest strength has always been our ability to find solutions outside established paradigms," he said, pulling up historical examples of breakthrough innovations that defied existing scientific understanding. Elena's resonant strategy was more than a defense plan. It was a complete reimagining of conflict resolution. Traditional military strategists had always approached defense as a matter of overwhelming force or perfect protection. But Elena understood that humanity's survival would come from something far more nuanced, the ability to transform the very nature of conflict itself. She began mapping out a series of seemingly random technological and communication interventions. Each strategy looked like chaos to an outside observer, but to her team, it was a carefully constructed symphony of adaptive potential. They would use the Nexus Collective's own technological superiority as a weapon against them. "We're going to weaponize uncertainty," Elena explained, pulling up a complex diagram that looked more like a neural network than a battle plan. "Every predictive model has blind spots. The collective believes they can calculate every possible outcome, but they've never encountered a truly chaotic system." Dr. Carlos Ramirez, a specialist in memetic engineering, demonstrated an early prototype of their psychological intervention tools. Complex information packets designed to introduce cognitive dissonance, tiny algorithmic seeds that could potentially grow into massive systemic disruptions. "It's like introducing a virus of imagination," he said, his eyes bright with excitement. The team worked with a desperate urgency. Alien ships continued to mass in Earth's orbit, their technological perfection a constant reminder of the seemingly impossible task ahead. But in this underground facility, something remarkable was taking shape, a defense mechanism that was less about fighting and more about fundamental transformation. Elena looked at her team, scientists, philosophers, artists, and strategists from every background imaginable. Humanity's last hope wasn't in its weapons, but in its capacity to reimagine the very concept of conflict. The resonant strategy was more than a plan of defense. It was a declaration of what made humans truly unique in the universe. The first wave of alien landing craft descended through Earth's atmosphere like shards of frozen starlight. Their technology was so advanced that they seemed to ripple and distort the very air around them, defying known laws of physics. Command centers around the world watched in horror, expecting total annihilation within moments of first contact. But humanity's response was nothing short of miraculous. Military units that appeared completely uncoordinated began to move with an almost musical complexity. What looked like random deployments to alien sensors were actually a carefully orchestrated dance of misdirection. Tank battalions seemed to contradict each other's movements, artillery units appeared to fire at nonsensical angles, and communication networks looked like they were collapsing into total chaos. Captain Maria Rodriguez, no relation to Elena, but equally determined, led a specially trained unit that embodied the new strategic approach. Her team's training had been unlike anything in military history. They practiced deliberate miscommunication, learned to create tactical noise that would confuse even the most advanced predictive algorithms, and developed fighting techniques that defied every conventional understanding of warfare. "We're not trying to win by being stronger," Maria explained to her troops during their final briefing. "We're going to win by being completely unpredictable." The alien command ships monitored the human response with increasing confusion. Their advanced predictive systems began to generate increasingly erratic calculations. Each human movement seemed to defy their most sophisticated battle algorithms. Where a traditional military would have a clear chain of command and predictable response patterns, the human defenders moved like a living, breathing organism, constantly changing, always surprising. Quantum communication systems developed by Dr. Elena Rodriguez's team began to activate. These were not traditional communication networks, but adaptive information systems that could change their entire operational structure in milliseconds. What appeared to be a breakdown in communication was actually a hyper-advanced method of maintaining total operational flexibility. Alien landing craft started to experience inexplicable system failures. Navigation systems would suddenly reroute for no apparent reason. Weapon calibrations would shift microseconds before firing. The Nexus Collective's perfect technological systems began to encounter something they had never faced before: true randomness. In orbit, massive alien warships watched in growing frustration. Their scans showed a planet that should have been easily conquered, yet something fundamental was going wrong with their invasion plans. The humans were not fighting back in any way the aliens could understand. They were transforming the very nature of conflict itself. Captain Maria Rodriguez allowed herself a brief smile as another alien landing craft inexplicably veered off course. The real battle was just beginning, and humanity was about to show the universe something it had never seen before. Deep within the global communication networks, Dr. Elena Rodriguez's team began their most intricate operation. The psychological warfare they had designed was unlike anything in human history, a subtle, complex approach that would challenge the very foundations of the Nexus Collective's unified consciousness. Dr. Aisha Okik monitored the first wave of psychological signals. These were not traditional communications, but carefully crafted information packets designed to introduce cognitive dissonance at the most fundamental level. Each signal was a delicate blend of cultural information, philosophical concepts, and adaptive algorithms that could penetrate the aliens' seemingly impenetrable neural networks. The first signs of impact were subtle. Alien communication channels began to show microscopic irregularities. Where once there had been perfect synchronization, tiny moments of hesitation started to appear. The Nexus Collective's unified consciousness, a system that had dominated hundreds of civilizations, began to experience something terrifyingly new: individual uncertainty. In the alien command ships, senior strategists found themselves experiencing emotions they had never known: doubt, curiosity, the first trembling hints of individual perspective. Their perfect computational models started to generate unexpected variables, each one a tiny crack in their previously unbreakable system. Carlos Ramirez, the team's memetic engineering expert, watched the data streams with intense concentration. "We're not just sending information," he explained to his colleagues. "We're introducing a virus of imagination." The psychological signals worked on multiple levels. Some packets contained complex philosophical questions that challenged the collective's fundamental understanding of existence. Others introduced artistic concepts, mathematical paradoxes, and cultural narratives that had no logical resolution. Each transmission was a carefully designed probe, searching for the smallest vulnerabilities in the alien consciousness. Alien communication networks began to show signs of internal conflict. For the first time in their recorded history, individual ships and communication nodes started to generate slightly different interpretations of incoming data. The perfect harmony was developing microscopic dissonances. Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka monitored the broader systemic changes. "Look," he said, pointing to a complex holographic display. "They're beginning to experience something close to individual thought." The transformation was happening at a pace that even the human team found surprising. What had seemed like an impossible strategy was actually working. The Nexus Collective, for all its technological superiority, had never encountered a species capable of introducing such fundamental cognitive disruption. As the psychological signals continued to spread, the alien invasion force found itself experiencing something they had never known: uncertainty. The perfect, unified consciousness was beginning to fracture, one tiny moment of individual awareness at a time. Humanity's most powerful weapon was not a weapon at all. It was the capacity to imagine, to question, to see beyond the boundaries of established understanding. The underground research facility buzzed with an energy that defied the global crisis unfolding above. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood before a holographic display that looked more like a living, breathing organism than a technological interface. Her team had been working for months on what many considered impossible: a technological solution that could transform the very nature of alien systems. Dr. Marcus Chen carefully adjusted a series of quantum-entangled nanoprocessors. These were not traditional computer components, but adaptive systems that could understand, infiltrate, and fundamentally reshape alien technology in real time. "We're creating a technological language," he explained to his colleagues, "one that can speak to any system, regardless of its original design." The breakthrough came from an unexpected combination of disciplines: quantum computing, biological adaptive systems, and advanced linguistic algorithms merged into something entirely new. Each nanoprocessor was designed to be more than a simple piece of technology. It was a learning entity capable of instantaneous adaptation. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, a specialist in adaptive biotechnology, demonstrated the first successful prototype. A small metallic sphere began to transform, its surface shifting and changing in response to different technological signals. Where traditional human technology was rigid and fixed, these new systems were fluid, alive, and infinitely malleable. The Nexus Collective believes technology is about control, Alina explained to her team. We're going to show them that technology is about communication, adaptation, and growth. The first real-world test came unexpectedly. An alien reconnaissance drone approached Earth's orbital defenses, its advanced scanning systems preparing to penetrate human technological barriers. But as it approached, something remarkable happened. The drone's systems began to change, its very programming shifting in ways its original designers could never have anticipated. Inside the alien craft, navigation systems started to recalibrate. Weapon targeting became increasingly erratic. Communication channels began to generate unexpected feedback loops. What had been a perfect, unified technological system was now experiencing something close to technological uncertainty. Alina watched the real-time data streams with intense concentration. Each moment revealed another layer of their breakthrough. The nanoprocessors weren't just infiltrating alien technology. They were engaging in a form of technological dialogue, teaching and learning simultaneously. We're not destroying their technology, Dr. Chen said, his voice filled with a mixture of excitement and wonder. We're transforming it. The implications were staggering. Humanity had developed a technological approach that was fundamentally different from any known method of interaction. Instead of seeking to overcome or destroy, these systems sought to understand, adapt, and ultimately communicate. As more alien systems began to show signs of transformation, it became clear that this was more than a technological breakthrough. It was the beginning of an entirely new way of understanding technological interaction. The Nexus Collective's primary command vessel trembled with an inexplicable energy. Computational systems that had functioned with perfect precision for millennia began to generate unexpected outputs. Communication networks, once a seamless tapestry of unified consciousness, started to develop hairline fractures of individual perception. High-ranking alien strategists watched in growing horror as their invasion plans dissolved into chaos. What had begun as a simple planetary conquest was transforming into something they could not comprehend. Each system's failure introduced more uncertainty, creating a cascading effect that spread through their entire technological infrastructure. Captain Maria Rodriguez monitored the global defense network from her mobile command center. The human strategy was working beyond their most optimistic projections. Their adaptive technologies were not just defending against the invasion. They were fundamentally reshaping the invaders' entire technological ecosystem. Dr. Elena Rodriguez's team observed the unfolding transformation with a mixture of scientific fascination and strategic concentration. The nanoprocessors they had developed were doing more than infiltrating alien systems. They were engaging in a complex dialogue of technological adaptation that challenged every known principle of interspecies technological interaction. Alien fleet sectors began to turn against each other. Communication channels became increasingly erratic. Weapon systems would suddenly redirect, target their own support ships, or simply power down without explanation. The perfect, synchronized invasion force was becoming a collection of increasingly confused and isolated units. It's like we're teaching them how to think differently, Dr. Aisha O'Keefe remarked, watching the holographic displays that tracked the alien system's transformation. We're not destroying them. We're helping them discover something they've never known: individual potential. The psychological signals introduced earlier began to take full effect. Alien communication networks started to generate unique responses, each system developing slightly different interpretations of incoming data. The unified consciousness that had dominated hundreds of civilizations was fracturing into something more complex, more alive. Dr. Carlos Ramirez tracked the mimetic spread of human-designed information packets. Each transmission was a carefully crafted blend of philosophical concepts, creative expressions, and adaptive algorithms. They were introducing a virus of imagination that spread faster than any traditional technological infection. In orbit, massive alien warships watched their invasion plans collapse. Their perfectly calculated strategies dissolved into increasingly random and unpredictable patterns. The Nexus Collective was experiencing something fundamentally terrifying. The potential for individual thought, for uncertainty, for growth. Captain Maria Rodriguez allowed herself a moment of reflection. Humanity's greatest weapon was not found in advanced technology or military might. It was their capacity to imagine, to adapt, to see beyond established boundaries. The invasion was transforming into something no one could have predicted, a collision of consciousness that would change the universe forever. The aftermath of the conflict revealed a transformation beyond anyone's imagination. Liberated civilizations began to emerge from centuries of collective suppression, each discovering their unique potential in ways they had never thought possible. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood at the center of a galactic reconstruction effort that was more about healing than conquering. Representatives from 300 subjugated civilizations gathered in a massive orbital conference center. The space was deliberately designed to be asymmetrical, with no single point of power or control. Each delegation brought their unique cultural artifacts, technologies, and perspectives, a stark contrast to the uniform existence they had known under the Nexus Collective. Dr. Aisha Okik led the initial communication protocols. Her team had developed adaptive translation systems that did more than convert words. These systems captured nuance, cultural context, and the subtle emotional undertones that traditional translation methods missed. Every civilization began to truly hear and understand each other for the first time. The liberation was not just a military victory. It was a fundamental reimagining of galactic civilization. Humanity introduced concepts that were revolutionary to civilizations that had known only unified control: individual creativity, cultural diversity, the right to disagree, the potential for growth through conflict and resolution. Technological exchange centers were established on neutral platforms. Unlike the Nexus Collective's forced technological assimilation, these centers became places of genuine collaboration. Species that had been enemies for centuries began to share knowledge, not through conquest, but through mutual curiosity and respect. Captain Maria Rodriguez worked closely with liberated military groups, helping them transform from conquered territories into collaborative defensive networks. The approach was radically different from traditional galactic governance. Instead of creating a new hierarchy, they were building a network of independent yet interconnected civilizations. The remaining members of the Nexus Collective were not punished but invited to participate in this new galactic community. Many found the transition challenging. Centuries of unified consciousness had stripped away their ability to experience individual thought. Rehabilitation centers became places of incredible discovery, where former collective members learned to appreciate individual perspective. Scientific teams from different civilizations began to tackle challenges that had seemed impossible under the collective's rigid control. Medical breakthroughs, technological innovations, and cultural exchanges happened at an unprecedented rate. The universe was rediscovering the power of diversity. Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched the unfolding transformation with a mixture of hope and humility. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy. They had simply shown another way of existing, a path of mutual understanding, individual potential, and collective growth. As star systems began to reconnect and rebuild, it became clear that the true victory was not about military might. It was about the fundamental human capacity to imagine a different future, a future where diversity was strength and individual potential was the most powerful force in the universe. Decades after the conflict, the universe had transformed in ways no one could have predicted. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, now a senior advisor to the Galactic Collaborative Network, reflected on the journey that had brought humanity from the brink of extinction to the architects of a new cosmic paradigm. The Orbital Research Center where she worked was a testament to the new understanding of cooperation. Representatives from hundreds of civilizations moved through its corridors, each bringing unique perspectives that challenged and expanded collective knowledge. What had once been seen as differences were now celebrated as sources of strength and innovation. Educational systems across liberated civilizations underwent a complete transformation. Schools and learning centers no longer focused on uniformity but on individual potential. Students were encouraged to question, to imagine, to see beyond established boundaries. The rigid learning models of the Nexus Collective were replaced by dynamic, adaptive approaches that celebrated creativity and individual thought. Technological development accelerated at an unprecedented rate. Without the limitations of unified control, civilizations began to approach challenges from multiple perspectives. Medical breakthroughs emerged from unexpected combinations of knowledge. Scientific discoveries happened through collaborative imagination, rather than hierarchical directives. Dr. Aisha O'Keefe had developed a comprehensive study of the psychological transformation that had occurred. Her research revealed how the introduction of individual perspective had fundamentally changed entire civilizations. Species that had existed under collective consciousness for millennia were discovering the power of individual experience, creativity, and personal growth. The remaining members of the Nexus Collective had become some of the most passionate advocates for individual potential. Their rehabilitation had been a journey of discovery, learning to appreciate the beauty of diversity and personal perspective. Many had become leaders in fields that celebrated individual creativity and collaborative innovation. Captain Maria Rodriguez now led a diplomatic corps that was more about cultural exchange than traditional military strategy. Their mission was to continue the work of understanding, helping emerging civilizations discover their unique potential while maintaining a delicate balance of mutual respect and collaborative growth. Humanity's role had evolved from defenders to facilitators. They did not seek to control or dominate, but to create platforms for mutual understanding and collective growth. The technologies developed during the conflict have been transformed into tools for communication, healing, and collaborative innovation. As Dr. Elena Rodriguez looked out at the vast expanse of stars, she understood that the true victory was not about conquering the universe. It was about showing that the most powerful force in existence was the capacity to imagine, to grow, and to see beyond current limitations. The universe had learned a fundamental lesson. True strength comes not from uniformity or control, but from the incredible potential of individual creativity, mutual understanding, and the endless capacity for growth.